What's up, everybody? Welcome to Down and Dirty with Michael Julian. I'm your host, Michael Julian, and on this show, we're getting raw, real, and leaving no stone unturned. Each week, I sit down with some truly remarkable people who have overcome immense challenges and adversity in their lives. Whether it was childhood trauma, discrimination, mental health struggles, or any other obstacle thrown their way, my guests aren't just survivors, they're warriors who took their pain and turned it into power. They'll share their unfiltered stories and the life lessons that helped shape them into the forces they are today. So get comfortable because we're about to get down and dirty. You'll hear firsthand how our darkest moments can unexpectedly light the path towards our greatest growth and success. Let's dive in and prepare to feel inspired. So I figure what we're going to do is head out Friday. You going out? No, I'm going out Thursday. You going out Friday or Thursday?
I will be there Friday evening.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna head out as early as I can Thursday because I'm ready to get the hell out of the
It
office.
seems that way. You like keep on bumping it up day after day. Like,
Yes.
oh, what's going on?
Yeah, most people are coming out
It's
Friday.
very stressed out.
Yeah. Well, matter of fact, I got a lot going on.
Okay, excellent. Because when you shorten your week, I realize stress must be compounded.
Yes, it is. That's how I get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, welcome today, my friend, Thomas Slaughter.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and not only do you run the IT for my entire organization?
Yes, sir. I do.
You've also done some digital marketing for me.
Yes, sir.
And because of our business relationship, you have turned out to be one of my closest friends.
Oh, I'd say you're my best friend.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yes.
We do have a lot of fun together.
We do sometimes.
So you know the platform of the show.
Yes.
We do have a lot of fun sometimes. You know the platform of the show. I want to hear down and dirty about Thomas Slaughter. I want to hear everything. I want to know, how you grew up because of the time we spent together. I know you've got some great stories, some very interesting stories.
Absolutely.
Some with celebrities and crazy stuff. And you get as honest and crazy as you want to talk about. But either way, what's important is we spotlight the fact that you came out with a lot of challenges. You came up with challenges, economic challenges.
Yep.
I would assume racial challenges.
Absolutely.
Now you're a rock star. You're a close friend. All my friends are now your friends, and you run a very successful business, which I know will only continue to get more successful.
Yes, I definitely have been blessed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's start with day one when little Thomas came out. No, I'm just kidding.
So I was like those.
When you were a swimmer.
When I was a swimmer, then I was birthed, and then knew I was going to be something raw because when the doctor tried to smack me on my ass, I smacked him back.
Okay. All right. So you've been a fighter your whole life.
Absolutely. I've definitely been a fighter my whole life.
I love that.
I got to say, my early childhood was actually phenomenal. My father, mother, it was actually a good functional family. Then there was, some separation, which kind of derailed everything. My mother ended up separating from my father. I don't know the details. I was relatively young at the particular point, but it did, cause a lot of disturbance in the family. My sisters ended up going on with her mother. My brother and I, we kind of stayed together. Then we bounced around a lot between the two parents, overall over years. It was like, every year I was going to a new school. I had to make new friends. I was always kind of that odd one out, kind of that outcast because the dynamics or the socioeconomic difference from moving my father to my mother was extremely different. For my mother, she moved into a very fluid community, Claremont, California, with her new husband. And my father moved more to, an economically challenged community, which was ridden by drugs, gangs, and so forth.
And this was what area we're talking about? Southern California.
It's Southern California. So it was an area of Fontana, better known if you want to be more specific with the area, it's over Citrus Arrow. At this time, in the early 90s, it was very, very, bad with gangs, drugs, to the point I remember they would find dead bodies in the field across from my apartments. You wake up to the loud sounds of automatic weapons going off, and the next morning, you get ready for school, you go out and you see the yellow tape, and you'll see, the meat wagon there picking up bodies.
So with this, when I picture ghetto, I have a different picture because I know the Fontana area. But would this qualify as what you would call a ghetto?
I would equate that absolutely. Very, very low income. A lot of Section 8 folks. Welfare recipients, welfare was a career for a lot of my friends and their parents and their families and multiple generations. So, you see in this and this becomes the realities, and then bouncing back forth to my mother and then go to my mother's, then sometimes you feel a little bit kind of at odd, especially when I ended up going to live with her and went to the elementary school there. Their parents seem to be, other kids' parents seem to be kind of whole. They have the family trips and they have all these great things going on. And that's something that's not really happening to you. And no fault to my parents because they can do what they can do and they understand in life. And I love them dearly and I'll never hold that against them. But to any point, when I was definitely going to those schools, especially some of them, you did feel that you were different. You did feel, if it wasn't just a racial area, I would say it was more socioeconomic than anything. So that kind of puts you feel like, kind of shy away, and you don't feel that same appreciation that what I did when I was my father. We're all broken. So as a reality of that, and in that community, actually, my dad had a job. He did, and working for a dairy, good, decent paying job. And so we were actually the wealthy people in my apartments.
So you say it was mostly social economic.
Yes.
What was this? What was the demographic? Was it predominantly Black or Mexican or white? And because I would think that, this was 30, 40 years ago,
yes,
30 some years ago.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know racism was as big a thing as it was. So maybe I was a little bit in denial because where I grew up, we weren't really like that, especially my mom especially. My dad maybe a little bit old school. So
correct.
I understood that there were words that were unkind to say to certain people. But so this is mostly about money. Was it Black neighborhoods, and one was, I don't want to say lower class, but economically lower class, and your mother's was higher class? Or how was race not part of that?
Well, and I got to get to that. You didn't realize, and the reason I didn't recognize race at that particular point is because I come from a very diversified family. My mother is Puerto Rican. She married a Black man, hence why I have a darker complexion. My auntie, she married to a white man, very successful, multimillionaire. And my cousins the normal looking white person, the fair skin with the blue eyes. I have another auntie who married to a Hispanic in Central California with farm workers. So I didn't, that was never a thing. We got together, we enjoyed, we didn't show, that just didn't exist. My father never taught me about racism. He's from Kentucky, from the South, where he wasn't segregation. He went to segregated schools, and that's why he came to California so he could get away from that. And he ended up in Long Beach, which it was, they weren't segregated. So as a result of that, we weren't taught that. So I didn't understand that I was being shunned because of my race. And I'll give you a good example.
Oh, that's interesting.
I didn't, because I didn't recognize racism. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand there being racism.
It wasn't a thing.
No, within my family. We're taught by the content of your character, that's how you're judged. That's how we're taught within my family.
So racism was never a trigger or a sunburn for you. And that makes sense, because I will share something with you that
yes.
it was a lesson that I will remember till the day I die.
Yes.
I asked you one time, we're hanging out, I think it was on my back porch, drinking scotch and smoking a cigar. And I said, what would you, and I don't even feel comfortable using the word anymore. It didn't bother me before, but
yes. Now
it bothers me now. I said, what would you do if somebody called you the N-word? And you'd say, I'd laugh in their face because I'm not one. And I thought, correct, shit, that is brilliant. And now I completely understand. And honestly, I don't want to make a too big of a statement here, but man, I wish everybody would stop talking about race so people would forget that there's an issue or there's a difference, or that people, because it's the truth. Imagine if you had grown up dealing with racism.
Correct.
It would be a trigger for you. Then you'd be hypersensitive. Then
Correct.
You'd be wondering, are you looking down at me because I'm dark skinned?
Correct.
How are you going to, and then it becomes a whole thing.
Correct.
Your ignorance, for lack of a better word,
yes.
Your ignorance to racism,
correct,
made you not affected by it. So you didn't have the stigmas, you didn't have any insecurities, you didn't have any anger or frustration or angst towards people that you thought might be.
Absolutely.
Holy shit, wouldn't it be nice if we could just erase all that shit from everybody's mind, and then everybody could just, they still find something to judge. You don't drive a fast car, or you don't have cool hair, but at least color of the skin would not be part of that.
Absolutely. And what's interesting, that my brother who grew up in the South, he's the one who kind of made me recognize racism, because it's very prevalent in Kentucky and Louisville area.
Yep.
You stay on your side and they stay on their side, and nobody really glides. So as a result of that, when he got here, he came from Kentucky over here, and hearing his talk, his tone towards, it's literally reverse racism, him speaking on white folks.
Yes.
And to me, I felt uncomfortable either way.
Yeah.
I don't go, sit there and go call a white person, some type of derogatory term, nor do I accept the fact that they should call me that. But, my ignorance to that, I didn't realize that people were calling me derogatory terms. It was like, oh,
You know what? I just thought of a word that I want to use instead of ignorance. Innocence.
Innocence.
Yeah, I think innocence would be a better word because ignorance has got a negative connotation.
Correct.
And you weren't ignorant. You were just innocent to that.
Exactly.
And innocence is bliss, right?
Yes.
Or blind or whatever.
Correct.
You were not negatively affected because you didn't know what was being cast upon you.
Correct.
Therefore, it made no impression.
Correct.
No negative impression.
Correct.
I fucking love that.
And, it's interesting. So I was sitting there, and this is the first time I experienced some kind of level of it. So I had a friend named Victor who was from Compton, California. He ended up moving in to his uncle's place, and we're in the same fourth grade class. I can't remember the word, but it was a term for, what white folks would call black, kids, whatever the case is. And I think it was like coon or something in that context. And don't hold me to that, but he's the one who caught it. A teacher said something in that context, but I didn't understand that was a derogatory term.
A teacher said it?
Yes.
To a child?
Yes.
To a student?
That's what he claimed he overheard. I did not personally hear it.
Wow.
But, that's what he claimed. I didn't hear it. But in any case, but I can see that this particular teacher did have some type of, treated some of the black children a little bit different. And I remember he would rave on about the Hells Angels and how great they were. It was funny. He told all these stories and everything else. And we know some of the Hells Angels background. It seemed like he idolized him to some extent. It was the weirdest thing. He was very non-vet and all that other stuff. And he's the first one who brought it to my attention. He said, hey, they're calling us, the N-word in a roundabout way. And I was like, really? And it was brought to attention. I remember it was very uncomfortable. We sat down, teacher and everybody, the parents and everybody else sat down, and we got it all clear the air and everything else. The nice thing is the principal at that time was a black man. He just became the principal of the school, and he did take that very serious. And I remember him taking me to the office, and he's the one who actually educated me on racism for the first time. He said, you have to understand, you're a black kid, and this is in the Claremont School District. You're a black kid in a white world. He says, so you need to carry yourself 200 times better than your counterparts who are white.
Set the example.
He said,
and prove them wrong.
Exactly. And that stuck to me for the rest of his name is Mr. Andrews. He ended up becoming the principal there, ended up becoming the principal of the middle school over in Claremont, and ended up at the high school, and just a phenomenal human being. And I've always kind of looked up to him. Every time he saw me, he would check on me, make sure I'm not getting myself in trouble and so forth. However, then when you change directions, here I am, I'm being taught to be, objective content of people's characters. Now you fast forward here, I'm in Fontana into the low income community. I remember going to the school and they would call me Oreo.
Because you're part white?
No, because how I carried myself. I carried myself with proper. I spoke proper,
Okay.
And because that's how my parents taught me. My dad taught me not to talk, jive for the most part.
Right.
And so they, I remember they would sit there and try to pick at me. And I remember one day I was walking home from school and it was two boys. And I'm talking to a young girl and they walk up to me and they kept talking about, oh, you don't talk to that Oro, he's a sellout and everything else. And I actually just got fed up with it and I knocked one of the boys down and I beat up his other brother. And after that, the two other kids jumped on me. So it's 4-on-1 and just, I guess my athleticism, because I was playing football and baseball and everything else, I had to win, just kind of keep on going until they had enough.
Right.
And as a result of that, one of the kids who was come from a gang family, we became very close. His name was George. And that's how I kind of got introduced.
One of the kids that was involved in this altercation?
One of them watching.
Oh, okay.
Yes, one of them watching. So I remember him kind of coming to me and he said, hey, bro, you can fight. He's cool. He said, why don't we hang out? So we started riding bikes and everything. And I remember he started laughing about my clothes because I wear Vans with the skater shorts and everything else. But in this community, everybody has fur elite chains and the earring, and they're wearing Jordans, and they have the crease, jean shorts, and they have these nice polo shirts and everything else. Two just culturally different shocking differences for me. So I started to dress more like that. Then over time, I stopped really going to Claremont when I moved my father. And after a few years, that's when I kind of got indoctrinated into that whole lifestyle, the street lifestyle, is through that particular environment. And that's kind of what started form who I was. And at that point, I started getting involved with, some of the street gangs, became very close to them, and started getting some mischief. And from that point, that's when I started going down the wrong path. And my parents really was scared. They couldn't figure out how to reel me back.
How old are you at this point?
I was really about 12 years old. So my father, I remember, great man, rest in peace. He just passed last year. Love him to death. He's a man who always taught me a man takes care of his children.
Yes.
Okay. He's a person that would give you the shirt off his back. He was to me, to this day, I try to embody his character in the context of being loving and caring and objective to, and just understand, judge people by the character. And that's where I learned all that from, plus working hard. So, he unfortunately had to work a swing shift from, he'd work swing shift from 2 p.m. to 10 or whatever, 10 p.m. So therefore, when I got home from school, I pretty much was raising myself. So I was what they call one of those keychain or key house kids.
Yep.
Yeah. So
you had lots of time after school to not do something constructive and productive.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. And as a result of that,
and as my grandfather used to say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
And that's exactly what happened. So when I would walk from my school, I'm junior high, middle school at this particular point, and I'd have to walk from there, and I'll take a detour through the park where all the drug dealers and gangbangers hang out at. We'd play basketball and all that other stuff. And fighting became kind of the credential for you to be accepted in that community.
Okay.
So I remember once I told you I've had probably well over 100 fights. And because that's what I would do, I would go there and I would pick fights at the park, so I try to find the baddest kid within my kind of structure, and I would just punch him, and that kind of got all the other, thugs kind of off your back. It was kind of a defense mechanism.
Sure.
Well, and my dad was like, I can't stop. And at that point, it carried on to school because, some of these kids didn't like the fact I punched them at the park. So they wouldn't carry it on to school.
Sure.
So I was getting suspended I got suspended in 7th grade, maybe about 11 times for just punching people out.
Yeah.
And finally, I saw this one kid, amazing fighter. He was an 8th grader and scared the heck out of me. I saw his scrapping skills. So I asked him, I said, man, how do you learn to fight like that? He said, come with me after school. So we were walking through dirt tracks, messing up my clothes through dust and everything else. He takes me to this alley. I'm getting all nervous and everything else. Like, what the heck's going on? He's going to jump me? What's it? I'm going to try to steal my shoes.
Is this white kid, black kid, Mexican kid?
Mexican kid.
Okay.
Yep. Which is very odd because at that school, Hispanics and blacks didn't see eye to eye. There's always fights between us. And he said he walked me into this dirty, rickety garage and had a boxing ring in the middle of it.
Oh.
And it had these busted boxing bags. He said, just sit right here. So van drives up, old fat guy, bald head, missing teeth, walks up. Smitty is his name. He worked for the correctional facility or youth authority in Chino, and he was taking at-risk youth and he was teaching boxing to discipline them. So he took me in and he said, I will take you in, but one thing, you cannot fight anymore. He says, if I find out you fight, you're getting kicked out. And I sat there, I want to learn how to fight like him. He said, I'll teach you. And he went through a little while learning that and everything else. Then as a result of that, I kind of started learning the discipline and what it takes to obviously be a better person. And he was just there. When I didn't have a father who could be there, I would hang out at this place and it kind of stopped me from going down the cold path.
Sure.
And as a result of that, but of course, Thomas being Thomas, I would try to do my knocker here and there. So I started picking fights here and there with particular people. Then when he found out, he got so angry with me and he just wanted to throw me out because he kept saying, you don't understand the skill I'm teaching, you could really hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that all transitioned at that particular point.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's kind of the common theme in, all of the martial arts and all the movies and everything like that, because why this is so great. God, I wish that sports and athletics were so much more popular than they used to be because they teach discipline.
Yeah.
They teach responsibility because you now have a skill you have to be responsible for, or you might end up in trouble for doing something to somebody.
Absolutely.
And it's a big responsibility to be able to kick the living shit out of somebody.
Yes, sir.
Because of what you've been taught.
Yes, sir.
So, oh man, I tell you, this Gen Z epidemic that's going on, that's just makes me nauseous. It could all be turned around, I think, if they would just start throwing everybody into sports again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's funny. My wife and I talked about. So she doesn't come from an athletic family, athletic background, but I do. My brother, phenomenal baseball player, was nearly signed to the Angels until he blew out his shoulder. Then the rest of us play football, basketball, some type of sport, even through high school. So, and that's the thing is, I said, sports probably saved me to some extent and disciplined me. That resolve. So at that particular point, growing up with that point, then I end up kind of swaying away from Smitty a little bit because I kind of, come here 8th grade. All my friends, must I say, is always older. So, my close friend at that time, he was a senior in high school. And this is a funny thing. My sister got tired to drive me to baseball practice. So one day she gave me her car keys and said, drive myself.
How old?
8th grade. I was 14.
Okay.
It was only maybe, if you drove the back streets, it was a couple miles down the street. But she ended up getting another car from her boyfriend, and it was Suzuki Samurai. That's why I was 11 years. It was a red 1.4x. Everything else. That's exactly how I learned to drive a car. Stick everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I started driving her car around. So that created more mischief for me because I could expand my reach. And at that point, I got really into girls.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, here you are, 14-year-old, you got a little vehicle of yourself, which is typically unheard of in that community.
Yeah.
That's all I do. I sit there and just we call TP creepy. we just jump around and I see all the girls. And the interesting thing is unfortunately I figured a bit about my age. So most of my girlfriends were in high school and they were a little bit more advanced, a little bit more mature. So kind of how that went.
You learned a few things.
Yes, I did. Many tricks.
Yeah.
I learned to stand on my head.
Okay. That is good to know.
Yeah. So big cake stands at that time.
Well, let me ask you this. So that, what was his name?
No, was that Smitty?
Smitty. I was going to say Vinny. So Smitty, would you say that was the most pivotal role, that if he hadn't shown up or that you hadn't started down that role of that lesson, it could have gone dramatically different? Or do you think there's a different scenario where that is the case?
It could have been dramatically different. I'll tell you why. I grew up really close to 5 guys. 3 of us were murdered.
3 of the 5 were murdered.
Yes.
Okay.
One was found in a dumpster in Pomona. He had been killed. The other one was stabbed by his friend in Upland. And the other one was shot, when he opened his door, point blank.
Wow.
And that only killed Paul. We grew up as kids. He was murdered as well. He was here from college. And he went to go visit his brother and was coming out and he was shot in the face. So, murder it's a sad thing in this particular time growing up, Black in those communities or even Hispanic. It would be unusual for you not to know somebody who got murdered.
Wow.
Well, it's just even, a friend of mine, his girlfriend, I knew who she was. Her boyfriend was murdered right in Claremont Police, So it was just a lot of people were passing away untimely at that particular time.
That is crazy. And for me, coming up, just stupid little Northern Colorado boy.
Yeah.
I knew a guy that got lost in the mountains while hiking with his family. And
yes.
I was in school, that's all I knew. But to know that many people that were actually murdered it's crazy.
Yeah. I got a good list. Even the last murder funeral I went to was a good friend of mine. His auntie came out to talk to him in front of the house. He was gunned down. He survived. His son was shot. He survived, but his auntie, who was in her 70s, she didn't make it. And that was 2000, maybe 7.
My God.
Yeah. So a lot of gun violence, a lot of craziness at that particular point.
So Smitty, that whole Smitty experience may have been the pivotal moment of your life that changed it forever.
Absolutely. At least he gave me some awareness. I could do something different with my life. I don't have to be, because he would tell me, he would talk about the Kids and Youth Authority, which is basically prison for people under 25. And he would tell me about, the great talent that's been wasted. And he would just keep telling me, don't be that great talent that was wasted. He would sit there and he would just always say,
that's a hell of a great thing to say and very impactful, I think, as a young person to hear.
Correct.
Wow. That's crazy. All right. So what are some of the biggest, now you're in your teenage years.
Yes.
And you're having fun with with the ladies, doing a little partying and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It was good times.
Now, not shortly after that, something happened.
So actually met my wife.
That's what I'm talking to. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So let me tell you a story how I met my wife. This is a great story, and I'll tell her 50 million times and she might tell a little bit different, but I'm going to tell my version. So here I am, I'm doing okay with myself. Got, my little job. Plus I got little side hustles here and there in the streets. So got my car, feeling good about myself. And I go to a club over in Pomona. It's called Club Basic on 1st Street. If it's still around, First, 2nd Street. And here I am. My cousin, my guys were all in there and everything else. And here I see this just gorgeous, beautiful girl. And I keep looking at her and keep looking at her. She just pay me no mind. So I'm dancing next to her and I'm bumping. I'm doing everything to get her attention, but she's paying me no mind. So I'm like, man, this is what's wrong with her? She's stuck up? What's her deal? You know, but you can tell she came from a different, come from different cloths. She's not like the rest of the girls I played with at that time when we're a little fast. So fight breaks out, club gets closed down, and my cousin turns around and he's like, hey, I got this girl. I want to go see her. Why don't you go talk to her friend? So I see this beautiful girl. Again, it's her. She's in this expedition. I'm in the driver's seat. I was like, ooh, I got me a rich girl. But I walk up to her and I start to tell, hey, tell my name, kind of started spit my game, has my spiel. And she turned around and she said, I got a boyfriend. So I paused. I looked to my left, looked to my right, and said, what's it got to do with me?
Mm-hmm.
And she froze. And I sat there and said, is that going to prevent you from giving me your number? And she kind of looked. Then she just kind of shined me on. So now we're going to go to Denny's because that's what the kids did. After we go out to Denny's and we get there. And here she is again in the same booth that I'm going to sit. Because apparently my cousin was was trying to court her close friends. Sure. Already been. So I'm sitting there and I'll never forget. I had my little wad of cash. Trying to be the player, trying to be the man, everything, Papa calling everything else. And she looked at me like, ew. And I said, let me pay for your food, she said. And she's like, no. So I'm like, what's wrong with this girl? So we turn around, we go to the bowling alley after that, and I'm still trying to talk to her. Then I finally turned around, excuse the expression, I called her stupid bitch. Ooh. And I said, what the fuck's wrong with you, stupid stuck-up bitch? And she called me an asshole, and we thought it was over. Well, my cousin calls me 2 weeks later, said, hey, he got some chicks coming, can I kind of run wingman? Fair enough, have meet me at the house. So I was getting off my little McDonald's job, driving back to the house and sitting there, taking my shower, putting on my cologne, my cool water.
Cool water.
My cool water cologne. And I look out my window and here I see this bitch. Excuse the language. I see this bitch who was just being sorry, got to start the language. But I see her and I'm looking at her and I said, hell no. I'm going to go see my girlfriend. At that time, I had a beautiful girlfriend. I said, I'm going to go see my girlfriend.
So you were being a player because you had a beautiful girlfriend and you're hitting on this girl.
Well, you're a young man.
Yeah. Oh, I got you.
You got to sow your royal oats.
Sure. I got you. Okay. Anyway.
So in any case, I finally turned around and he convinced me to go with him. So I said, great. You're going to ride with me? He said, no, I'm not going to ride with you. So he said, can one of the girls ride with you? Sure. For gosh darn, I don't know why it was her who wants to get in my car. So she gets in my car. It's me and her. She's riding shotgun. First thing she does is complain about the damn air. It's too cold. I remember the words, burr. And I looked at her and I sat there and turned her down colder.
You turned it down colder.
You're damn right.
Being the gentleman.
Yes. Because I couldn't stand her.
Right.
So we end up going to the mall. However, we get separated. Me and her decided we're going to try to go to the movies together. And I'll never forget the movie. It's Half Baked.
Oh, God.
Yes.
You went to a stoner movie.
And I sat there and I sit in the very top of the movie because I was a stoner at the time. And I pull out my blunt. I break it down. I start rolling it up. She's looking at me. And I fire it up and I blow the smoke in her face.
Oh, boy.
And I'm sitting there laughing at Jay Chappelle. She turned around and looked at me. Then she grabbed my hand.
Grabbed your hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said, okay, I'll be a hell of an asshole. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So movie's over. And I was sitting there and I was like stoned. At that, I was completely like just dazed. And I kind of leaned on her shoulder. And then she took my head and laid it in her lap. And I don't know, I got the tingly butterfly feelings. Yeah.
Well, I know Kaisha, and she is a strong, strong woman.
Yes.
And, I knew you for quite a while before I met her because you live in Vegas. And
yes.
Most of the time, sometimes you're out here working.
Yes.
I had no idea what to expect. And when I met her, I was so that is a powerful woman.
Oh, yeah.
She is no pushover.
Not at all.
And I think, and I will let you answer this, but excuse me, I think that her strength and her boldness and because she's still feminine, she's a beautiful woman.
Yes.
But she just does not seem like the type of person you want to fuck with. Like she's kind of a badass.
That's probably a good description.
Yeah. And I was so excited for you because I know that you're a happy-go-lucky guy.
Yes.
You're serious about business, but you're a happy-go-lucky guy.
For the most part. Yeah.
to me, I'm thinking, okay, this is the anchor. This is the rock that's keeping him, grounded, because you're a fun guy. Like let's say you're up for whatever, but I can see what a tremendous asset that influence would be to you, especially since a young age. How old were you guys when you got together?
We were 17.
17?
So, yeah, we've been together for 24 years, something like that now. I think I lost count, something like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So how long after you met did your bundle of joy come along?
So our bundle of joy came along when we were about 19 years old. And, that was that changed everything for me.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, because my whole life was just, partying, club hopping, lack of a better word, woman hopping. And, she always kind of gave me that room. But I remember when my daughter was born, right here in Fontana, California to be specific, her father, showed up. And he's holding her, and my daughter was born with jaundice or whatever, when the skin's yellow, and they got to keep him there for a little time. I think that's what it was. So, they're there, my father's there, and, he walks me outside and he says, hey, it's your responsibility now to take care of those girls. And, my father taught me responsibility. And as a result of that, I say, I have to own it now. I have to be a man. And, after we went home, we kind of made a pact. No matter what happens between us two, we'll never separate, because that child deserves a whole family. Because she came from a broken family. I came from a broken family. And I said, no matter what we do, whatever it happens, we will never break that bond. She calls it a soul tie. We have a soul tie. And she says, we have to do right and break the generational curses. Yeah. And said, unless the only way we will succeed is by doing opposite from what our parents do, at least the negative elements of it. And that kind of started my mission of, I was a high school dropout, believe it or not. I actually dropped out of high school 3 months before I graduated, because I just thought this high school sucked. Yeah. So I turned around, got GED. Long story short, I end up going to junior college, Chafee, worked 2 jobs, warehouse, delivered pizza. I did all kinds of stuff. Sprayed bugs, crawled under houses to pull rats out from there, crack rat, just all the nasty stuff you had to do just to make it go by. And it was very difficult when you kind of see all your friends out there partying, that whole lifestyle, fast life, making all kind of money, all kind of illicit ways. And here you are, you're trying to do the right thing. Sure. And it's like, you
have less to show for it probably than the guys dealing dope that have, new shoes and
brand new everything else. And that's the thing, we look long run now, they're all either dead or some terrible jail. And I'm sitting here, so I go through Chafee College, as a result of Chafee College, I remember I didn't realize I was as smart as I was. And the only reason I applied my intelligence is because if you took a student loan, Pell Grant, if you failed, you got to pay the money back. I couldn't afford to pay $3,000 back because, I wanted from my pocket. Yeah. And I ended up getting straight A's. Wow. And I started getting straight A's on a roll list off every roll. I was like, oh, damn, I'm kind of smart. Yeah. I'm really, really smart. Then I end up at Cal State San Bernardino, got a degree. And I end up going to work for a corporation in the warehouse, hubbing tires. And I remember the vice president of sales and operations, he would see me. He would come talk to me at nighttime. And I remember they got rid of the janitorial service for whatever bad service while they're in transition looking for one. They asked somebody in the warehouse, do I want to clean can they clean corporate offices? Where everybody's like, hey, I'm not cleaning showers. Body. I was like, I'll do it. And the reason I did that, because it gave me an opportunity to see how corporate worked. It got me the opportunity to be around the corporate people. And me doing that, I remember sitting there throwing away the vice president's trash of sales and marketing. And I remember him listening to Too Short.
I love Too Short.
So here's this white dude, this square as you can be, and he's playing
Freaky Tales.
Yeah, Freaky Tales. He's bumping it, and he's like, it doesn't bother me. I was like, no. Well, come to find out, he was married to a stripper. Okay. And she was black, daughter's black and everything else, and we hit it off. And he's the one who pulled me to corporate as assistant. Then from there,
he was white?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he pulled me to corporate as assistant. And Aaron Tannison, that's the guy's name. Phenomenal human being. And come to find out, he was an extreme sports skater dude, beautiful house in the hills. He did his pool so he could skateboard, spray paint. That was his jam. That's his thing. And we got, he taught me everything I need to know about the corporate world, and analyze data and everything else. When he leaves, guess what? They hired an old gentleman in his 60s who didn't understand technology. So guess where that left me? The only person that knew how to work his spreadsheets, his Access database and everything else. So they had no other choice but to give me a raise and give me a title as an analyst.
Okay, so let me stop you for a second. So Smitty, to some degree, can we call him a mentor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then this new guy, Dennis, what's his name?
Aaron Tennyson.
Tennyson.
Yeah, Tennyson.
Okay, Aaron. So Aaron certainly appears to have played a mentor role in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
And the reason I bring this up every time I can during the show is how incredibly important mentors are.
Yes.
Everybody should seek a mentor.
Yes.
Obviously, you want the right mentors, because if you're mentored improperly or illegally or immorally, you're going to end up that way.
Yep.
But God, it's important to have a mentor and learn from them, because it's like a personal education by somebody that's either made it or doing it or
Absolutely.
has what you want or whatever.
You have to have a mentor, but you have to pay forward.
Yes.
You have to give mentees.
Yes.
That makes you better. It makes you sharper.
That's your payment.
Exactly.
You have to pay it forward later after you learned it, because that's you giving back.
Exactly. And the first person to be mentees is to those closer children or cases. The next thing is do good community work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've sat on boards of nonprofits as I involved in everything else. And I'll kind of speed up real quick. How we're doing on time?
Fine.
Okay, fantastic. So we're sitting here. Now here I am in this position, and I'm kind of moving up, and I'm like, 26? Well, as I start to understand technology and how to better apply it in the business atmosphere, I was going to Cal State San Bernardino, getting my business degree with focus on information management. I was able to come up with great ideals.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I was looking at how operations were working and how they're doing transfers and how they're staging trucks. And I said, well, let's try cross-docking. I can set it up a certain way. So I was using technology to figure out how to move things around and analytics and everything else. And that ultimately put me in a seat to become the head of the IT department. Next thing I know, I'm running IT. Then next thing you know, they put me on major projects. Projects that's $500,000 investments, $1 million investments, and so forth. Now, at this time, I'm about 28 years old. 28. Yes. So here I go from making in the warehouse, I think it was $875 to $80,000 a year in a matter of a 3-year jump. So now my wife and I, we live in like the Jeffersons. So moving on. So we're sitting here, we get the beautiful house. We got her and his Audis. We're living good. My closet's all beautifully arranged by color, suits, all her dresses and her purses.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like a stud.
Yeah.
And at that particular point, I remember we were opening up the distribution center in Redlands, and the director ops, he resigned. And I'll tell you how I ended up getting the job to oversee. It was a $60 million book of business to oversee all the Empire distribution and everything else. So I'm sitting there meeting with the fire marshal for building inspection for the new facility out in Redlands. And I get a call from corporate, from HR, telling me they need me in the office at 6 p.m. So I'm like, what do I do? Am I getting canned? What do I do? I'm thinking about all the bad stuff I do.
That you thought they didn't know about.
I was like, okay. So in any case, I get there, and I'll never forget, I walk into the CEO's office, but he's not there. The door closes. The CFO is standing behind the damn door. And to the right of me, I see the COO. Then the CEO, he's on the phone. And Larry started telling me some things. And he's like, do you think you can run that district? And I said, my will say this, and I can't help it, just a chain reaction. Does Howdy Doody have wooden balls?
Oh my God. Perfect. I love it.
I just can't help it. It's just I got it from Cheech and Chong. If you're ever watching this, Howdy Doody have that.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there and he's like, excuse me? And I said again, does Howdy Doody have wooden balls?
Yes, he does.
He started laughing. Yes, he does. He started laughing. And he said, well, if that's the case, what would it take for you to run it for us? And I said, well, how much we're talking about? That was my next question. And he said, well, wait a minute. We pay you a lot of money now. And I said, who's going to manage IT as well as run that district? Because I haven't seen a replacement yet.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you can let your underlying person, Ross, said he's not capable. He's like, well, could you oversee that as well as run the division? And I was like,
for more money, you're damn right.
Are you damn right? He said, what we'll do is we'll put you in a bonus pool and you can earn your money through bonuses. So what they were giving me, I think it was 2.2% of net profit per month on my bonus, which ultimately gave me like an extra 80,000, 70,000 in income.
So you doubled your annual income.
So I said, fair enough. Let's go and do that. So I remember going there, and I remember, them announcing it, and I was getting some congratulations. And the sales director for that division, he wasn't happy about it.
That's right. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about it. And I remember my office is downstairs. So the COO goes upstairs, tell him, hey, this is the way it's going to be. And he said, I will not work for that little motherfucker. And he's like, well, it is what it is. And he says, he's an arrogant little asshole. I can hear him just going on. And he says, if you want to work for us, you're going to work with him.
Yeah.
Now, not for him. We were peers with him.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, mind you, that district was actually in the red every month. They were losing money. So what did I do?
Turned it around and made them money.
That's it. I didn't do it. I really didn't do it. It was the people that did it.
Sure.
This is what I learned about the power of people.
But that's what a leader does, buddy. The leader gets the people together and then gives the credit to them when they succeed. And that's
absolutely
brilliant.
And that's all I did. The first 90 days, first 30 days, I sat in my office, big office, gorgeous office. I'm sitting there and I looked at the surveillance cameras just for 30 days. I didn't say nothing. They're like, what's he doing? Even the CEO called me, they said, you're not coming out your office. What's going on? Are you okay? No, I'm fine. I'm just taking notes. I'm looking at all the reports every day. I'm looking at all the reports. Then I turn around. Then finally I go out and I ask each department head, what would you do different? They told me. If it was something radical, I said, do it. Let's see what happens. Long story short, we went to the worst organization branch to the most profitable. And they even started moving the claims department and everything over to us. And with that being said, I was a star. They even had me meeting. I created these great spreadsheets because I'm very proficient in Excel. These great formulas. I'm giving to the other directors how I look at things and everything else. And I actually shot myself in the foot by being as good as I was, because they asked me one day, Thomas, do you think we need a district or director of ops for each location? And I said, no. If you have the proper tools, KPIs, one director can run all locations.
Yeah.
So they called me next month and said, we want you to go back to run director IT, and we're going to have one of the other guys run all locations. So I was absolutely pissed.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I think I know what happens next. And there's a question I have to ask you. Well, I'll let you get into it, but then there's a question I have to ask you.
Okay, fair enough. So they wanted to give me they were opening up in Northern California in somewhere around outside of San Jose. I remember I did all the analytics, the traffic thing, did all the reports, telling them where they should put the warehouse. And they ended up going up there. And they were like, we want you to move up there and basically get that going like you did the other locations. But I'm like, at this point, I'm feeling kind of gypped.
Yeah.
I did all this stuff. And now you put me back kind of a rat hole. I was loving what I was doing. So I pretty much, I remember a small IT company reached out to me. A cloud company reached out to me, and they were in peril. They're in financial peril. They're going through a lot of problems as well. And the owner at the time basically said, hey, he met me talking. We were talking at some type of event. I think it was a chamber event. He said, I left a lasting impression on him. He needs somebody to help run the organization. So it's funny. We're sitting at Luna's over here in Corona. It's a little Mexican restaurant. And I did like the old school, the mafia, you write down no number.
Money on an napkin.
Yeah, right it to him. I said, could you do that? He said, not a problem.
Wow.
So I turned around and walked over to the office, and I gave him my 2 weeks notice. And they said, no, could you give us at least 30 days? We got to figure things out. And I said, fair enough, I'll give you 30 days. And I end up transitioning over to go to this cloud, small cloud startup type of company.
Hi, everybody. As you know, I'm Michael Julian, and I am the creator and founder of the Alive Active Shooter Survival Training Method and Program. And Alive is today's sponsor for my podcast. So Alive is an acronym. It stands for Assess, Leave, Impede, Violence, and Expose. It is Run, Hide, Fight 2.0, the new and improved method. We have certified over 290 instructors in 6 countries, and we're certifying new ones every month. If you are interested in becoming a certified instructor of the Alive Active Shooter Survival Training Method, please reach out. We'll give you all the information you need, and we have a class at the end of every month. We would love to have you in our 2-day course, and then have you out there teaching the world the best way to survive an active shooter. And as a sponsor of the show today, if you call and would like to either get the active shooter training or you want to become an instructor, mention my podcast, Down and Dirty with Michael Julian, and we'll give you a 10% discount on either way you want it. Thanks for staying tuned, and we'll see you soon.
So when I get into the cloud company, a lot was not articulated to me, kind of the struggles they were going through. I know he said, hey, it was a little bit of a challenge, he needs some help. But when I looked at it and looked at the books and everything else, oh my Lord, it was scary. So I turned around and worked with the owner. We got everything straightened out. Basically, I became a hatchet man, got rid of the fat, tightened him up, moved him into the black, from the red to the black. And I did such a good job. I come to find out there are investors in the company and they wanted to meet me. So I ended up meeting with the investors. We hit it off well. And I ended up meeting with them again personally over at their offices over in the Long Beach area. And that's when they approached me, and they basically kind of alluded that they wanted me to, what they were trying to do, they were trying to acquire small IT companies to build a conglomerate per se. I don't even want to say conglomerate, it's a large organization. And they wanted me to kind of see how I felt about heading that up. And they, in essence, kind of wanted me to box out the owner of that company. And it sounded good. It really did. And they started having me speak with some of these other companies. They said, there's any other companies you want to bring to the table, bring to the table. So I started talking to some other folks, and it was an IT company in Northern California. And I hit it off with him, and the guy was interested in me with investors. So we kind of had this all going. Then I brought it, because I'm just not a backstabbing type of dude. Good. I brought it to the attention of the owner of that company. Well, of course, he took it as you expect, and he felt, hey, that was slighting him. But when I told the investors I needed to have a conversation with him, the investors was a little kind of spooked about it. But it is what it is. We got to be honest. Got to keep things above board. Yep. You just have to do that. That's not my cup of tea. Good man. Behind people's back. Good man. So again, they kind of wanted me and him to work together to develop, a larger company, IT management company. And they kind of wanted me kind of lead the way. And he just didn't like that very much. And as a result of that, I just thought it was most appropriate kind of set ways, because one, I just felt, it's still kind of, even though the investors like, hey, we really need to cut him out and let you just run with it, it just didn't jive well with me. So as a result of that, I ended up, putting in some applications, some fillers out there, and I ended up with a relatively large company, $1 billion company, Minolta. And their subdivision, All Cover, which is $200 million IT management companies that provide IT services to companies, small and medium-sized businesses throughout the United States.
Okay, now that's when I met you.
Yes.
You on basically a sales call. I don't know how it got set up.
Yes.
But you and I think a gal or two gals or somebody, or was it just you?
Actually, it was a gal. So they were servicing your copy machine.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes.
Minolta was at our copy machine.
Yes.
And you guys came in to sell us IT services.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Yes. So when we came in to sell IT services, that's when I spoke with Sandy, I think that's who it was. And Sandy, me and her, we hit it off very well. And she said, hey, you know what? Let's do it. And we did the paperwork. And I believe that's when you and I kind of connected.
Because I wanted to do, we were smaller back then, and I wanted to do an interview of anybody we're going to bring on as a vendor.
Correct.
And I remember spending probably 20 minutes in my office, and I'm usually a bit of a hard ass when somebody's
not a lot.
Well, shit. Someone's trying to get my business. I like to squeeze them a little bit to see what they're made of.
My eyeballs popped out
to see what I'm going to be dealing with, and grill you a little bit, and ask you qualifications and about the company and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you with DNA as well.
And I will remember thinking, let me put it this way: at the end of that conversation, we stood up and I shook your hand and I said, "Were you in the military?" And you said, "No," because I was so. I don't want to say impressed. It was so refreshing.
Yes.
To have somebody to speak with such respect and customer service oriented conversation and investment in making sure that me as the client were happy, not just you as the provider making money.
Correct.
And you were just so respectful and not many people even act that way anymore, frankly.
Correct.
And I thought, well, you know what? This dude clearly knows what he's talking about. You definitely, and you made a lot of
I don't want to say promises. You made a lot of commitments to the level of service I was going to get. And the fact that you were going to be the one ensuring that level of service.
Yes, sir.
And probably to your detriment, because every time I had a problem, I called you, and I should have called the people underneath you to handle it. But you always took my call, and you always made sure my issues got solved. And that was amazing. So I don't know if I should get ahead of you or not, but when you made a decision to leave and start your own company, you came to me and basically said, I think I was the second client you came to.
Yes.
And you said, I'm going out on my own. And I don't think you were unethical in trying to recruit me. You were just letting me know, probably in a strategic sort of way, that you were not going to be my account manager. And I had already started to grow unhappy because no matter what you did, the people underneath you were not fulfilling the way I felt. And so now you and I are both battling with them to get the job done.
Yes.
And that's when I think you said, enough is enough. And you said that to me. And I said, well, Thomas, the reason I'm with this company is because of you. So if you're going somewhere else, I'm going somewhere else.
And you know what? That was a sentiment amongst the many people that actually came with me. I just said the same thing. I wasn't trying to undercut anything else. I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go on my own. And I'll tell you actually what caused me to go on my own. It was because that my commitments wasn't being upheld by the company. And I felt, hey, I'm a representation. You say you can make this commitment. I'm not making them just baseless. You said this is what you can do. And that's what I expect. That's what I know. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So I recall that, the first commitment, we won a contract with Alvord Unified School District over here in the Riverside area. And they committed that they could do the job. Then when it came time to do the job, they pulled out. So how do you think that made me look?
Conica being the they.
Yes. Yeah. And Conica, the being they. And I'm sitting there like, I show up, I'm sitting down with, their superintendent. These are the big guys. I'm sitting down with their chief information officer, and they're like, hey, what's going on? Why are you the only one who shows up? And I'm sitting there, and then one of the Conca reps, he shows up, but the people from my team left me hanging. And I was upset about that. Fair enough. And they turn around, they hold me accountable for the count for them pulling out the deal. Well, you guys are supposed to be there, but we're not going to tit for tat there. Then they turn back around and they do it again. No, and they just kept missing the management kept missing meetings. That was to deal with the deals.
So you could no longer represent them with integrity because they were lacking integrity, or at least not showing integrity.
And I won't say that's the whole organization. I'm just saying that department who I was working in, they just kept it was just lacking that level of integrity. So the final straw that kind of broke the camel's back was there's a large nonprofit organization, about 6,000 employees, and I go meet with their CEO and some of the directors, and they showed me that. I asked them to show me their bills. I'm looking at it, and I said, "Are you a 501c3 by chance?" They said, "Yeah." I asked them, "Well, why are you paying for Microsoft 365 licensing? That's donated to you guys." What do you mean? So I explained it to them, and that's when I was actually talking to the president. The president said, excuse me, he goes, grabs the CEO, brings down, said, could you tell me what you just told me? And I showed him the calculations. Long story short, it was like $300,000 in the year in licenses they were spending and then have to. So the managed IT service company out servicing them convinced them, I don't know why, that's what they need to do. Their IT director was naive or, unknowledgeable about this. And they were looking at him with the cold. I felt bad because they looked like they just wanted to just run him over with their car.
Now, for clarification, this was not Konica Minolta that was billing them for this.
No, not Konica.
It was Microsoft.
It was a different company. Yes, so it was a different company.
Somebody failed to guide them properly to let them know you don't have to be wasting this money.
Correct.
And Microsoft didn't necessarily know they were a 501c3.
Correct.
Okay, so it was a misunderstanding. Nobody was being unethical or unscrupulous. It was just one of those things that slipped through the cracks that shouldn't have.
Well, I say the IT service company that was supporting them at that time, that was unethical. Or I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I would say they should have known to educate them correctly. Okay. But I saw as a former, so somebody was getting kicked. That's how I saw it.
Sure.
So long story short in that was, they asked me, can I help them get it all together? And they would, be willing to work with me. So I go back to Konica. I said, look, this is an opportunity for us. If I could guide them on how to get the licensing, at no additional cost, they would open and do more business with us. Mm-hmm. And I remember my manager said, well, why would you do that? Aren't you in the business of making money? And I said, no, I'm in the business of doing the right things for clients. Mm-hmm. I said, money follows if you do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And after that, You just felt the tension. And I just felt this is just not a good fit for me because I always want to do what's right. Not for just the company, but for people.
Right.
Because I believe if you do what's right for people, the rest will take care of itself.
Yep.
So that organization said, hey, Thomas, I told them I can't help them. They said, hey, have you thought about going on your own? And if you are, we certainly would love to, use a consultant. So light bulb came on.
Okay. Now this is where I have to interject and ask the question that I talked about earlier. Knowing your wife,
yes,
what percentage or degree of influence did she have in that decision or in giving you the support and strength to step out on your own? Because that is a scary thing to do when you're getting a paycheck every week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To go and all of a sudden go, I'm going to be the business instead of working for the business.
Absolutely.
Not many people have the cojones to just do that. So tell me about, just briefly, the influence that your wife had in that decision.
I don't know if there's a number big enough.
I kind of figured that.
I don't know if there's a number big enough.
I figured.
We'll just say infinity.
Okay.
Beyond. Can infinity beyond?
Yeah. So behind every great man is a better woman.
Damn skippy.
Yeah, good. All right.
So I was sitting there and I remember I went into the Monday morning meeting to our office, like they always have a Monday morning meeting, all the sales folks and everybody who's supporting cast, and they put up the numbers and everything. And I'm in the meeting and I'm looking and I just felt this is fake. Everybody's playing the game to get the paycheck. Nobody's being honest with these clients. They're selling and pushing them on products that they don't really need. They're not getting them the proper solutions. This is wrong. So I go to my desk. I didn't really keep anything at my desk because just, I just never felt like I belonged there. I grabbed my little items out of there, threw them in my backpack. I drove to the corporate office in Anaheim. And on my way there, I called the director and said, I'm out. What do you mean? I said, I quit. What do you mean? I said, I'm done. Well, what are you going to do? I'll figure it out. And I turned around, called my wife on my way out there and said, I got to tell you something. Sit down. She said, what? She said, I said, I quit my job. She said, about damn time.
Really?
Yes, she did. She said, you are too intelligent. You have too much knowledge. You're too valuable to dumb yourself down. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to just start my own IT company. She said, perfect. And she sat there and said, babe, no, sweetie. She don't say babe. She said, sweetie, sweetie, I would rather, these are very powerful words, and listen to this. I would rather live broke in a shoebox than to ever see you unhappy. And I thought about that. And I was like a tearjerker. She said she would rather give up the gorgeous house, the Audi, hers, his, the purses, the jewelry, this whole thing to go back into a broke ass apartment like we started. Just see me happy. She said, I haven't seen you smile in a long time.
Wow.
She said, I hope this makes you happy. And as a result of that, I quit, went to my daughter's graduation because the same day my daughter's graduation, and I felt so free.
Yeah.
I felt so like
all the weight had been lifted off.
Yes. I felt like I just got tired.
Not stuck anymore.
Yeah. I got tired of not doing what's right. I got tired of just chasing a dollar bill. I got tired of it. Now I could do it my own way, the ethical way, the way, well, I'm going to say just the ethical way I believe a business should be ran. So I remember the first 6 months though, it got scary as hell. Because we ended up having to put our house on the market. So we get some runaway cash. We sold the house, ended up with a couple of like $160,000 cash in the bank. She basically liquidated all our cash we had, or the stocks and everything else, just to give some bread, because we still had to put our daughter. We still had a $6,000 bill. We had to pay for our daughter's first year tuition. So we made sure we put that money aside. We still need to figure out how we're going to live. So all these crazy things are happening at this particular time. And plus, I'm still going to graduate university. I got to pay for that. So I'm going to Claremont Graduate University, working on my MBA, more specific executive MBA. And that's not cheap either.
No.
That's something I think like $20,000 a semester. So here's all this craziness. So now I'm freaking out because after 6 months, we pretty much blew through that $200,000. So I'll tell you, anybody who wants to start a business, if you think it's going to cost you $200,000, say $400,000.
Yeah.
Period. That's what I'm just telling you. Double whatever, triple it if you can.
Yeah.
So here I am, stressed out, money just completely, we're depleted. We took a little bit of money, bought a townhouse in Las Vegas. because we got, we figured, well, her mother was going to move to Las Vegas. So she sat there and said, well, we should get a place there as well. So we didn't buy a place there. So, because it was just so difficult, it was crazy. We couldn't get a house for rent because we had no job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, she quit her job too. She quit her job with the county 2 days after I did. Because she said she saw how free I was. And she was like, so here we are.
Would you have done it the same way?
You know what? Yeah.
Would you have had her quit her job at the same time?
It made her happy.
Yeah.
If she believed in me, she was not going to do what the normal wife would do. You lost your damn mind to walk away from $160,000 a year, whatever it was at that time, to us being broke. How could I sit there and say, don't quit your job? I need support her the same way she supported me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do that. That's how we work. We support. We're each support gas. So if she's not happy, I'm not happy.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not happy, she's not happy. That's the way we roll.
So the result, because you lived through it, was worth the stress that it brought on
100%.
Because it made you guys stronger and better.
Oh, it made us stronger and better. We were on the brink of divorce at that point. We were. I was such in a dark place. I want to say depression, but negativity, because I assumed that from those people. The chatter and the back talking and just all the craziness. If you're consumed with the toxic people, what's going to happen to you?
Yeah.
I became toxic.
You get infected.
And guess what? I brought it to my home. It was almost for 2 years, we didn't sleep in the same bed. I slept on the couch downstairs. We came just cohabited. We didn't touch each other.
Yeah. That's no way to live.
It is no way. But the only reason we're there because we made a commitment we'll never divorce because we don't want a broken home for our daughter. We're only together because of our daughter.
Right. At that point.
Yeah. Now that was the only reason. And as a result of that, she was willing to shoot the dice to bring happiness back in the family. And I sat there, let's hit the reset button. We basically wiped the table clean, got a fresh start in Vegas. And I remember driving back and forth. Because I was going to Claremont grad at the time. So I'd go to class. Then I would get on the phone before class. I'd make 100 phone calls, pounding the phone, dropping off 30, 40 cars, just everywhere. And trying to build up the clientele.
And staying at your mom's house.
Stayed at my mom's house.
Rancho. So you had a place to stay.
Yes. I was sleeping on a couch. I was couch surfing between her place and my brother's place over in Montclair. And here I am. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just like, man, this is looking bad. This is looking bleak. And I remember I was on the 91 freeway here, Riverside area, Southern California. And I got a phone call from a company I've been stopping by like every week, dropping off cards. And they said, hey, this is Thomas. Yeah, it's Thomas. Like, hey, our network is down and we can't get a hold of our IT company. Something's going on. Would you happen to be able to help us? And by God, I was only 10 minutes from it.
Yeah.
So I pull off, get there, I take a look. And this is when I just believe in divine intervention. I'm sitting there and they have a piece of equipment called a firewall. And that's what it's out. It burnt out. Guess what? I had one in the trunk because I was moving and I happened to have some.
You had a firewall.
Yeah, my trunk because I had been moving and it was sitting there. So I go in there, boom, 15 minutes they're up. And they're like, hey, could you do me a favor? Send us a contract so we could look at it. By the time because I was staying in a hotel, my wife and I were staying in a hotel at that particular day. By the time I got to the hotel, I saw the e-signature. It was signed. So that automatically put $7,000 in my pocket.
A month.
Oh, just like that. Boom. So at least I could pay my bills.
Yeah.
Then after that, then that put some money in my pocket. Then 2 other accounts I've been courting for. It was all in the same month. It snowballed. Yeah. Now I'm doing $17,000 a month.
Yeah.
In revenue. And all this stuff came from everything. And I remember this is the crazy part about the story with them. Those folks, they couldn't get all the IT person. And this blew me away. So I go to their location out in the desert over Palm Springs area. And I'm talking to the store manager. And they said, you know what happened to the last IT company? I said, no. I said, well, I was watching the news. And while I was watching the news, flashlight says serial rapist caught.
Rapist caught?
Serial rapist.
Serial rapist.
Yes, serial rapist.
Okay.
And his face popped up on the screen.
It was their IT guy. Oh my.
So I didn't understand why they're doing background checks on me, vetting me like I was there. They were like very acting like no.
Sure.
And he was picking up transgender women and he was taking them to the desert and raping them.
Jesus.
And apparently this girl got bold and she jumped out of the car on the 10 freeway and did a tuck and roll. And somebody saw it and followed the guy. And now he's arrested and he's gone and we're in play. And I believe that I was blessed because I do the right things for people.
Yeah.
And that door was open for me.
That's great. That is great. Well, so great things have happened to you. And before we go, oh, by the way, I'm going to give you this.
Yes.
Before I forget, this is a bulletproof koozie from Premier Body Armor, one of my sponsors. And
Premier Body Armor.
You're not a big beer drinker, but you could put that around your Scotch glass.
Yes, I can. I've wrapped it around like Scotch glass or around my forearms in case people start shooting at me.
Yeah. So great things have happened to you. Now the company you started, give us the information on your company, because people are going to want, after people see and listen to this, they're going to want you working for them for good reason. And I can be 100% testimonial on that.
Absolutely.
That's why you still handle everything for me. Tell me quickly about your company, and then I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yes. So we're SRCG. We're managed IT service provider. We provide
what is it?
IT Solutions. So SRCG IT Solutions.
Okay.
It's at SRCGIT.com. Again, that's SRCGIT.com. That's our website.
Okay.
We're a managed IT service company, provide IT services to small to medium-sized businesses, anything from the ground to the cloud. You have an IT problem, you contact us, we can resolve it.
Beautiful elevator speech.
Thank you.
That was magnificent.
Oh, well, I practiced this morning.
And you are out of Vegas and Southern California.
Yes, sir. So we're out of Vegas because we have a corporate office in Vegas, Henderson, Nevada. We have a corporate office here in Marietta, California.
Yeah.
But we do touch companies all around the United States. We have clients in the Philly area. We have them over in the Texas area, of course, Nevada, Denver area, of course, in your neck of the woods.
And plenty of testimonials, because I invited you to become a member of my CEO group.
Oh, yes.
And now every CEO of all the guys in all their companies, they all use you for their stuff.
Absolutely.
So,
yep. Just about everybody there. And I love working with them. You know why? Because you guys are all great people. And I love working with good people.
Yep. That's and you're fun. And we go out for beers afterwards, and we have a good time.
Beer, golf.
We do a lot of golf.
Yeah, golf,
yes.
beers, golf.
We're actually due for golf.
You taught me about the river too. I'm becoming a river junkie.
So, this weekend we'll be going to the river for a little boys' weekend.
Okay.
Like 6 of my buddies were going out to spend the weekend at my river house in Parker, Arizona, on the Colorado River, and there will be some beer consumed, I'm pretty sure. And it's going to be about 119. So we'll probably, I bought some brand new folding chairs at Sam's Club. So we can literally sit in the water on the beach and, stay cool, because it's going to be really hot. I want to ask you this. How do you practice gratitude in your life? Because you've got a lot to be grateful for.
One is every month I pick somebody to donate to. I know, like, one of our clients is a church. I donate computers to them. The other thing is work with a lot of at-risk youth. I want them to understand they don't have to, basically follow the footsteps of their older brothers who's in and out of jail, or basically stay within that socioeconomic status. You could transcend. But something I've learned is they can't, it's like you can't basically become what you don't see.
Yep.
I truly believe that. And I've been blessed enough to see so many facets of life that I've been able to, ascend in life and move up. So I try my best to help those with community speaks to the at-risk youth, as well as donate to different organizations, as well as sit on some boards of some organizations. I believe, my responsibility as a business owner is to be a pillar to community that I service. Mm-hmm. So that's typically how I give back.
Good. I love that. Okay. Looking back, what advice, I can't wait to hear this. Looking back, what advice would you give to that younger version of yourself?
Oh, man. It's funny. I ask people that question all the time, but never answer it for myself. What advice would I give to the younger version of myself? That's a good thing.
I thought this was going to be difficult, because you seem to be pretty wise as a younger man, and you made your mistakes and you learned from them and you moved on.
Yeah. You know what? Follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams.
I think that's it, because I dreamed big as a child, but I didn't understand the path. So those dreams fizzled. So don't allow anybody to say you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Say no to you. And the reason I say that, because I was a phenomenal football player, but the fact that one of the parents told me I wasn't big enough to go to a D1, I quit playing football. And interesting enough, by the time I was 18 years old, I was a D1 size. I had the height is not a big thing. It's the weight. And I had the weight and the body build to do it. But I quit because one person just put the seed on my head that I wasn't big enough.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, everything happens for a reason, but boy, can that be a game changer if you listen to the wrong person say the wrong thing.
Correct.
That then steers you in the wrong direction. What a damn shame that is. Hopefully those people will bounce back and course correct and come back. But I that's probably doesn't always happen. Imagine how many people listen to the wrong people about the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And because of that, they didn't have the courage to try or keep going.
Absolutely. And as an adult, you need to be very careful to what you say to those who are younger or a little bit more influent or more, what's the word? That's more impressionable.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Even my wife tells me all the time, watch what you say, even jokingly.
Yeah.
You don't know what impact it might have on the children.
That's so true. That's so true.
So I've become a little bit wiser and kind of guard my words when I'm around people who could be influenced.
Now, you and I have had many conversations about self-development, business, becoming better business people, becoming better human beings and stuff like that. What give me the top 3 books or quotes that have influenced and impacted your life to get you to where you are?
Ooh, that's good. Okay. Of course, Napoleon Hill, Think Real Rich.
Of course.
Yeah.
The
48 Laws and Powers by Robert Greene.
Okay.
And what would be the third one? Science of Minds.
Science of Minds.
Yeah. It's I forgot who the actual author is, but that let me understand that we are all connected and it's bigger than just us. And he goes into explaining, he articulates science with religion, how we're connected and how the ripple effect of one impacts the other. And ultimately what you do can either build or destroy. And he puts it in more in a scientific way, but of course adds a little bit of religion to it to explain to you that, religion in essence, I want to go too off on a tangent, is misrepresented in total.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be something that builds you up, not tears you down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately today, a lot of religious leaders are using it as a tool to tear down instead of build up.
Yeah.
So, when you look at that, I don't shun different religions. I don't care if you're Islam, Hinduism, whatever it is. If the message is pure, it's about love, people, and doing what's right by people, human beings.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you will give back what you give.
That sounds like a pretty great book, and I think I might have to get that myself.
Yes, it's Science of Minds. I wish I knew the author. It's been years since I read it, but you should read it. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting read for me.
I will do that.
Yeah.
My friend, it's been such a pleasure. You and I have conversations like this all the time, but I actually learned a few things, and I enjoyed the fact that my audience is going to learn a few things from you because you fit so perfectly into the reason that I have this show, and that is to inspire, and you're very inspirational.
Absolutely.
You've been through the shit, and you came out clean and shiny and
so fresh
and smelling good.
Yeah, my stuff smells good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mom.
She still does your laundry when you're in town.
You know what? Pisses my wife off.
Your mom's great.
Yeah. I can tell who washed my clothes by the detergents.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being on today, my friend, and I look forward to this weekend. We'll make some memories and talk about it on the next podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to come back. It's a lot of fun. And thank you.
You got. Thanks, buddy.
For Premier Body Armor. You guys made, I don't know how to pitch it.
Make koozies safe.
Okay. Premier Body Armor. You make us safe.
Yeah. Until next time, please connect with me on your favorite social media platform where you can follow me on my personal journey, including the fun stuff I do with people close to me to celebrate our lives and our victories.